But are users interested in DeFi? Not at all. So what you need is this abstraction layer, like user come to play a game, the game on the back use the DeFi, It's mini app, it's WeChat developers. So WeChat developers know how to engage people, onboard people, millions of users, and they know they are the one that will be able to make the money out of this. This is a very important market, not just for TAC, but for Telegram in general and for TON as well. We are getting a lot of initiative going on there in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Korea as well. So the very big priority, in our opinion, is the Chinese market and the APAC market, with following the example of WeChat and similar kind of system like Line or Kakao or similar messaging platform with Telegram, with mini apps.
Hello, Marco, and glad to have you with us. And I'm Arthur from Block Temple. Block Temple is one of the leading crypto media platform in the Chinese-speaking world, and focus on bringing deep coverage and meaningful conversation with the Web3 founder like you. The first part, I would like to talk your background and motivation for founding TSC. So before we dive into the tech side, I would love to start with your story. And Marco, can you tell us a bit about your personal journey and introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me here. I started very early with crypto. I discovered Bitcoin in late 2012. I was trying to get involved since day one, but on Bitcoin it was very difficult because either you were a super crypto giga brain contributing to the Bitcoin core, or you were doing some mining. There was nothing else at that time. And I was already following Vitalik, that was writing for the Bitcoin magazine. And when Vitalik released the yellow paper for Ethereum, I was like, wow, this is going to be the way to actually be engaged. So I basically participated into Ethereum presale as a presaler, and I got involved with the Ethereum ecosystem since day one. In my journey, I first spent some times with the TradFi, trying to bring blockchain technology into TradFi and organization like central banks or government. And then through Consensus, I started looking more into the crypto side, advising some crypto apps before, and then through Consensus working on the BizDev side, working on products like Infura or MetaMask or Consensus staking, and starting to get more and more into the full-time crypto job. And within Consensus, I used to be the co-founder of Linea, an Ethereum layer 2, built by Consensus, which basically I started together with the former head of R&D, Nicolas Liochon, and other people from the R&D department. Until I met Pavel. Pavel is my amazing co-founder now at TAC. And basically he pitched me about the Telegram distribution with TON, what was going on there, that I was not very looking into. And I realized that this was a tremendous opportunity, because during my experience, I developed this distribution thesis where you can have the best tech in the crypto space, the best blockchain in the crypto space. If you don't have distribution, it's not going to work. And I've seen this multiple times, for example, with Solana that was pushed by FTX, BSC that is pushed by Binance, Base with Coinbase. There are numerous amount of example we can bring. And the same Linea itself, it started with like originally we wanted to spin out Linea from Consensus. When Pavel pitched me about distribution, not from a wallet, not from a centralized exchange, but from an existing community of 1 billion users through a messaging app that is Telegram, where every crypto user is already on Telegram, despite of the fact that you use for crypto or not. But you always, if you're in crypto, you always use Telegram. That was massive. That was like pinpointing my pieces of the distribution. I was like, wow, this is going to be huge. And that's why I basically started working with Pavel and we created TAC.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I'm curious about what inspired you to launch TAC, and begin this new chapter in your career? You know, everyone knows Telegram, everyone knows Tom, but what inspired you to launch TAC?
Yeah, so when Pavel Alchukov, my co-founder, reached me out back then, he told me what was going on in the TON ecosystem. You know, like Telegram has an official blockchain that is TON, but for some reason that I do agree on, by the way, the TON developer community, the core team of the developer community of TON decided to don't use the EVM, and that it's good because EVM as a technology has a lot of bottlenecks. TON is trying to build a blockchain for 1 billion user. You know, if you take an EVM blockchain and you just want to focus on one single use case, that is payment, for 1 billion user, the EVM is not enough. It does not scale. You know, it creates a lot of issues. So the only way for them to be able to serve 1 billion user for a very simple use case, that is the payment, replicating somehow what WeChat did, you know, the messenger and the wallet that can let you send payment. If you want to use EVM, it does not work. And that's why they come up with this technology that use the TVM, the TON VM. And the TVM, it's basically good for insane amount of scalability, serving 1 billion user. But on the other side, there's a lot of issues when it comes to creating an ecosystem of developers. And when you build a blockchain, like the success of the blockchain is the combination between liquidity, users, and developers. You know, if you don't have developers, it's gonna have a hard time. But look at here. There's no DeFi, and why? Because DeFi is EVM. But when you start to tapping into DeFi, the proof of time is the most important thing. People that holds liquidity, that makes this DApp works, they are trusting these dApps that they don't get hacked, that they are secure and things like this. If you are building a new blockchain with a new smart contract system, with a new swap pool or AMM or whatever you want to call it, I have three risk factors. I will not bring my liquidity there, you know? So what we did was, okay, look at here. There is a blockchain with huge potential, but one big missing thing, that is the utility of the blockchain. Because utility of the blockchain in the end is transfer of value. You know, and transfer of value is either payments or meme coins or DeFi. And a blockchain without DeFi is a blockchain with less 1/3 of utility. You know, and he was telling me, look, like we are working on a solution that is a chain abstraction tool that lets EVM dApps to be triggered with TON transaction. That means that we can onboard into TON and make EVM developer directly exposed into TON, into the TON ecosystem. So basically, TON user will be able to use EVM dApps without even noticing that they are not built natively on TON. When you look into TON, you see a reverse pyramid with a lot of users and no developers. So by giving the distribution to these developers on the EVM side, exposing them into the large number of users on TON and Telegram, that's actually super appealing. And I was like, wow, this is actually a big thing. You know, I want to be part of this.
So, and I'm curious about how TAC is integrating with the TON blockchain and the broader Telegram ecosystem. Yeah.
We are indeed launching a new chain, but this new chain is an execution environment. You know, this chain is a blockchain without users. So we call this TON adapter. And what this happens to do is, if you use our SDK in your front end, you are able to let a TON user to connect with their TON wallet and use their asset existing on TON to trigger the execution of EVM code. There is no wallet setup needed, no bridge, nothing. You know, a TON user already has a TON wallet and they use your dApp same way they are using another TON dApp. They don't even know the TAC exists. What we are really doing is basically creating the DeFi for TON. And creating DeFi for TON does not just mean onboard Core Finance, Morpho, Euler on TON. It means build an infrastructure, a DeFi infrastructure, where the hard asset is TON. Instead of exporting TON token everywhere, we onboard directly dApps and liquidity on this layer. So basically, we can build a DeFi infrastructure that is rooted on the TON asset. And TON will be the hard currency of this DeFi, you know?
So And as the founder of the TAC, what is your long-term vision for the coverage of the blockchain and the social application or some other application?
Yeah, so I believe that DeFi is the core utility of every blockchain. I always believed and said that DeFi is a niche use case, is a very niche use case, but the most important one. When I was in Consensus, I saw MetaMask struggling with revenues a lot. At the very beginning, MetaMask was just a cost, because it was just a tool. And they started integrating swaps. And every swap, they are taking a cut. That is the distribution fee. So MetaMask started to add the cut on the swaps processed by the MetaMask users within the wallet. And that alone generated $330 million of revenues for Consensus. But that shows you another big thing, that if you put distribution into the equation, it's not just Consensus that made money, because every swap, Consensus was taking a cut, and they made $330 million of revenues. But every swap was aggregated by an aggregator, was executed on a DEX, and LPs into the DEXs were taking the fees and taking the yield. So just adding a distribution that is MetaMask into the equation generated value across the stack, not just for Consensus. So on our side, like what MetaMask had was 25 million monthly active users. On our side, we have a lot of mini apps on Telegram, like mini games or content mini apps. The way they make money is advertisement or in-game item. But advertisement on Telegram is super cheap. It does not bring a lot of revenue because it's very easy to bring new users. The CPM on Telegram is $0.008. So you can sell traffic, you will not make a lot of money. On the other side, selling in-game items as the typical market conversion rate. It's not just that it's a Telegram mini game that people spend more money on your product, right? So what we are telling these developers is, hey, look at MetaMask. MetaMask, leveraging the distribution of the swap primitive, they were able to generate $330 million of revenue. Why don't you do the same? Why don't you start distributing DeFi primitives, not just swap, but many other DeFi primitives? So we bring you a third way of monetizing your engagement that comes from your mini app. That is going to be mind-blowing because users come to play a game. They don't even know on the back. They are just playing a game. But on the back, their action are triggering DeFi activities that generate revenues for the mini app developer. And on the other side, it brings, like MetaMask, value across the stack. So there are on-chain activities happening that generate yield for someone else, So this is also a call to action for WeChat mini app developer to tell them, look, there is a third way you can make money, and port your mini app on Telegram. Create your mini app on Telegram, engage user there, and you will be able to make money also with DeFi.
Last part, I would like to dive into more tech side. So could you elaborate on TON tech product position and technical design? How exactly does tech enable EVM compatibility within the TON network, and what specific pain point does the list solve both developer and end users?
TAC is made by two components. There are two big components in what we are doing. There is an EVM layer one that is a layer one standalone. It's based on Cosmos EVM. It's secured with delegated proof of stake, secured by the TAC token, and resecured by Babylon whenever Babylon will be live with the BSN. We will be one of the BSN. So this EVM layer one is a self-sovereign EVM layer one. But that's a layer one that we are not developing to attract users. This is just an execution environment for us, because the other component that we built in-house is this TON adapter that is a cross-chain framework. So the TON adapter basically is a bridge with a flow control on top of the bridge that let you send a transaction on TON. This transaction trigger EVM code execution, and the result goes back to TON on every transaction. It's not a layer two, And this is done interacting with an SDK. The developer, for example, Curve Finance, let's take Curve Finance. They deploy their contract on the EVM side. And then they build a new front end for the TON users using our SDK. TON users open this frontend, they connect their wallet, and they are able to see their TON asset. This curve mini app is built with our SDK. So when a user swap TON for USDT, what is happening is that our SDK creates a custom TON transaction. This custom TON transaction goes into the TON adapter on TON. So it goes on chain, fees are paid on TON, and TON validators get the fees and validate the transaction. But this custom transaction has some extra payload that inform our cross-chain framework, which is the contract on the EVM side that needs to be called. So the transaction goes on TON, on the TON adapter. The TON adapter see that the user is calling the swap method on Curve Finance on our EVM layer with TON token. And it triggers the cross-chain transaction like every other cross-chain solution. On the EVM side, a swap happened, so the TON token are sold for USDT. And the USDT goes back on the TON adapter, sending back the USDT to the user on TON side. So as a user, when I use Curve Finance on TON, I'm able to swap my TON token for USDT, and I don't even know the TAC exists. On TAC, we are layer one, so we have a gas fee, and the gas fee is TAC token itself. So you will say, how do people are able to pay the gas fee? This is done through a solution that, in my opinion, is very elegant. So when a user creates the swap transaction on TON side, our SDK simulates the transaction on the EVM side. So we know exactly how much gas token is used by that transaction. And TON technology allows us to take a cut on the TON fees. So when the user pays the fee to execute the TON transaction, there is the TON minting fee, the TON validation fee, and the TAC validation fee in TON token. And we retain this TON token and convert it into TAC token. When the transaction goes on the EVM side, it's sponsored by a network level paymaster. So all transactions are sponsored. And then we take all the TON token on TON side by people paying the fees, we convert them into TAC, so it's a buy pressure for the TAC token, and we refill this network level paymaster for future transaction coming in.
So how do you see TAC position compared to other blockchain, or competitivity situation with other projects?
What we are doing is very focused and narrow it down to a single chain that is TON, that we use similar components, but we only connect our EVM layer one with TON, and that's it. Let us solve different needs. Layer 0 is TON interoperable with every other network out there for asset bridging, and that's it. We are actually using this interoperability to build DeFi for TON. That's a different angle. We are actually supported by the most important stakeholder of TON, like Top Lab, the open platform. Top is basically one of the biggest stakeholders, and it's very important presence in TAC. They are basically the majority owner of our equities, so we are a Top Lab project. And Top Lab is also the owner of the wallet, but if they are able to convince Top Lab that they are doing better than us, then we will have a competitor. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit difficult to compete, in my opinion.
I'm curious about how about the TON other layer 2 solution? Is there any layer 2 solution for TON ecosystem right now existing, like competitive with you guys with the TAC?
So there used to be one. It used to be DAC chain. To use DAC chain, you need to still have an EVM wallet, and you still need to have DAC token. We are not building a layer 2 on top of TON. There are other layer 2 solutions on TON that are emerging. Like I do believe Amster team is working on a layer 2, for example, but that is different because it's not EVM, and it still requires user to do actions. In our case, we are not doing that. I know because I co-founded one of this. So layer 2 were introduced for a very important issue, that is scalability of Ethereum mainnet. Ethereum mainnet were not able to manage throughput. This is not the case with TON. TON does not need any scalability layer. TON is infinite scalable by itself with the technology that they have. So that is the reason why the approach that we are having at TAC can only work with TON. You will not be able to use our same approach on Ethereum mainnet because Ethereum mainnet cannot scale for this. But our case is different, so yeah. Don't see competitor today. Probably some competitor will emerge in the future, but we will see.
Yeah, it's very nice, how to leverage them to really using the TON ecosystem. I think it's always a big problem. Like 2021, 2022, we have heard a lot of people say same thing, like 1 billion users. So share some big plan or timeline for the TAC for the maybe 2025 or 2026.
Yeah, I mean, we will go live on Mainnet. I believe we were pretty fast. We launched our testnet in February, and our plan is to go live on Mainnet this month. We don't need testing a lot because it's not new, like Cosmos EVM, we got Cosmos chain since Polygon Proof of Stake. It was 2018. So Cosmos is super battle tested technology. All the things that we use are more or less super battle tested piece of stack, that we put together. So we will go live on Mainnet. We will have a very interesting incentive plan for all the liquidity providers to use the network to generate consistent APY, pretty competitive in the market. And that alone, it's going to be enough to basically sustain the network for the first months of operation on Mainnet. But we are already working with consumer app to test this approach of distribution thesis, to have them starting distributing DeFi apps. It will take a bit of time for this to start to kick in. We believe 6 to 9 months post Mainnet go live. It's going to be mostly crypto native users. So users that know what DeFi is, that are already on TON, users that are coming from Ethereum mainnet to get some juicy yields on their bags. And then we will start to see consumer activity going up with this distribution concept that I was telling you before, through integration with the wallet, through integration with the consumer, like mini games or content mini app. And when this will happen, basically organic activity is the thing that pump the yield on every blockchain. So we will be able to reduce the incentives because organic activity will go up. But this will happen probably 6 to 9 months after Mainnet will go live.
A lot of mini games actually come from the Chinese-speaking markets, Chinese-speaking developer. They are from maybe WeChat developer. So I want to talk about Asia, especially the Chinese-speaking market. So it's no secret that this region has always played a major role in Web3 ecosystem, especially in TON ecosystem, I think. So I'm curious about what's TAC strategy when it comes to Asia, especially maybe China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, even other APAC regions.
Yeah, 100%. So the best market for Telegram is to go over that type of developer, especially. There are two profiles in the APAC region that are necessary. There are a lot of like APAC whales, so people that are very big into crypto, that has a lot of holding. And for these people, like the liquidity provisioning is like a business. And this is very important because without liquidity, DeFi cannot work. It's very important. DeFi require a lot of liquidity. And today you find a lot of liquidity in the APAC region. But the second part is how you generate the incentives for this liquidity to come. Is through organic activity, and where organic activity comes from user. But are users interested in DeFi? Not at all. So what you need is this abstraction layer, like user come to play a game, the game on the back use the DeFi, and who built this game? It's Miniapp, it's WeChat developers. So WeChat developers know how to engage people, onboard people, millions of users, and they know they are the one that will be able to make the money out of this, like Consensus and MetaMask, with the example I was making before. So this is a very important market, not just for TAC, but for Telegram in general and for TON as well. So we are getting a lot of initiative going on there in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Korea as well. Like we recently went out with an NFT mint. It was a paid NFT, and looking at the data, I think that out of 8,000 NFT sold, at least 2,000 or 2,500 are users from Korea. And now TON is moving very fast on the US market as well, because today the TON blockchain and the Telegram wallets, they are not open to the US market. And this is the year for TON to start tapping into the US market as well. But again, in my opinion, the big priority, because even US people are not very into the mini app business, so the very big priority, in our opinion, is the Chinese market and the APAC market, with following the example of WeChat and similar kind of system like Line or Kakao or similar messaging platform with Telegram, with mini apps.
Yes, we also seeing that Kakao Kaya trying to learn from the Telegram ecosystem, and it seems like they are competitive with the developer. Like the developer right now, they are choosing to build on Tom or build on Kaya. Like it's very fun for the media side.
This is the future. Like once the genius is out of the bottle, like you will not be able to find different way to basically compete with that. If Telegram is able to prove to the mini app developer that you can make a lot of money with DeFi, more than you make with advertisement and conversion rate, like there's no reason for any mini app developer to still keep building on WeChat. Like everything will migrate to Telegram. That creates a risk for WeChat itself. So like I'm sure that's the way where everyone will go.
So have you guys collaborate with some mini app like now?
Yeah, we have a pretty active discussion with the top grossing mini app developer on Telegram, all of them. I can mention Boinkers, I can mention TON Battleground. These are games. There are other mini apps not in the game space as well, like content mini apps. There is Katizen. Katizen, by the way, is coming from one of the top 5 mini app, WeChat mini app developer, that is Pluto. And they are not just interested in what we're doing, but they are also very helpful about creating and getting into this network of mini app developers, because if this is proven to work, then the wave of mini app developer coming into Telegram, it will be massive. It's going to be a new meta,
Cool. And finally, could you say a few words in Mandarin to our Chinese speaking readers?
So let me see if I can find it. Ni hao.
Yeah.
我是 Marco, co-founder of TAC. Yiki go yan DeFi. They way lie.
Nice. I think it's very good.
For far too long, we heard build and they will come. Well and on, they're here all right, and builders are now welcome. DeFi is going mainstream on Telegram. We now declare TAC Mainnet open. Fuck the endless onboarding and bridging or installing a new wallet. No need to explain DeFi to your grandpa anymore. He's already on Telegram. And now, so are Curve, Morpho, Euler, Carbon, ZeroLend, and many more. This isn't some janky fork. It's the actual dApps and teams in your chat box with your goddamn alpha groups. It's not just about DeFi dApps. TAC is also expanding the asset class of TON. Every ERC20 token on TAC is mirrored as a JETN, the TON token standard. You can now trade your USDT for yield-bearing versions of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Someone mentioned summoning. Turtle makes the liquidity flow. TAC secures the chain, you stake it, you delegate it, you fucking earn. TAC isn't your average governance token. This native gas token powers every transaction coming from TON users. Don't get caught up in the dump.fud noise. You wouldn't want to be the exit liquidity for max extractors. Choose wisely. Join TAC as DeFi goes mainstream on Telegram.